Accommodation is not your mate. In this UK, nobody really send you, like nobody really, they don't care. You're gonna have to get the money. You'll need money to be able to sustain yourself in this place. Bills are gonna, it will choke. Hello? Bills are gonna choke. So in order not to tell stories that touch at the end of the month or be scraping the bottom of the pot at the end of the month, you have to be a planner. You're coming to the UK and you think that the way you are hearing quiz English is the same way that you'll be speaking it in the UK, across the UK. You are gonna be shocked. You are gonna be disappointed. Because if you want to be able to flow very well, you have to calm down and use your inner ear. Hey lovelies, and welcome back to the channel. My name is Omotola. If you're new here and you're just joining us for the first time, thank you so much for clicking on the video. Please do well to subscribe and join the family. Also remember to click on that bell notification icon. That way you get notified every single time I upload a new content, which is at least once every week. Here on this channel, I talk to you about my life here in the UK, and I also give you sit-down videos centered around my job, which is in healthcare. We also have a Telegram group where we get to talk about coming to the UK as a healthcare worker and basically joining the healthcare team. So if this is something that interests you, the link to the group will be in the description box. Do well to click on it and join the family. All right, so today we're talking about a very interesting topic that will help you understand how the UK system works and basically things to expect and things you might not have considered about the UK as you prepare to come in. These are also some things that I had to learn the hard way, and I've kind of written them down along the way, and it has just helped me better understand and cope and advise people who are coming in after me. Okay, so one of the first things that you will realize is that everything is linked. You will quickly understand that everything is linked, right from picking up your BRP to getting your NI number. You will quickly realize that everything is linked, like your date of birth, everything is linked, and it's a system, really. I won't dwell too much on this point. Just understand that everything is linked. You can't do one thing without the other thing, and you need one thing first before you can get onto the other thing. So, for example, you need your BRP number before you get your NIN, before you can even look for accommodation, before you can even get accommodation, before you can look for schools for your children. Everything is linked, so it's a system. Okay, so another thing that you will quickly understand is that accommodation is not your mate. Accommodation is it is work. To find accommodation in the UK, especially if you're coming in as an immigrant, new immigrant, you're gonna look for that house. You are gonna stress. You are gonna work. Looking for accommodation will humble you, as in it can be very tedious to find accommodation, and it can be very daunting. It can also be very frustrating because almost every estate agent will tell you, no, sorry, oh, we don't deal with students, or no, you don't have credit, or they can even be asking for 6 months or 3 months upfront payment on your rent. As in, where do they expect us to get this money from? I mean, I've had ridiculous offers like that. So getting accommodation as a new immigrant, be prepared. Do not say that nobody told you. Also, you are going to need a guarantor, and that guarantor has to be in a certain tax bracket. In some cases, the guarantor also has to be a UK homeowner. There's just a lot, and it can be very frustrating to your guarantor and to you, the tenants, the prospective tenant as well. So the next point is that everybody answers to their first name. Now, this might be a problem for people who struggle to call other people by their names, or who have a hard time having people call them by their names. Now, if you are doctor, medical doctor, even if it's a doctor of philosophy, long and short of the story is that in this UK, nobody really send you, like nobody really, they don't care. Your first name is the name that everybody will refer to you as. Like, even in my place of work, my boss, like my manager, she's old enough to be my mother. That's what I'm talking about. But everybody still calls her by her first name. So, like, that's what we're talking about. it could be a problem for people who, especially coming from West Africa, like Nigeria, where I grew up. So some people have to be called sister this, brother that, doctor this, professor this. It doesn't really fly here, because even in a school setting, like in a university setting, students get to call their lecturers by name. It could be a problem for some people. But yeah, heads up on that one. So your first name is what people will refer to you as. So if you have a problem calling people by their first name, or having people call you by your first name, you're gonna struggle, but you're gonna be all right in the end. Next point is a very obvious point, but I decided to put it like number 4 so that it can give it a soft landing. Bills, 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 bills. I'm sure everybody must have heard about this, and I don't say this to scare anybody, but the bills are going to be waiting for you, like at every corner. If you're coming with family, the bills are going to be there. If you're coming as a single person, except you have family to stay with, and that will cushion like the financial implications of your stay there, or it might just give you a little time to get yourself before you start fending for yourself. You're gonna have to get the money. You'll need money to be able to sustain yourself in this place, because bills are going to be there at every corner. The rent will first of all slash your income into almost half. That's if you are staying in a affordable zone. Not everywhere in the UK is expensive, like I've said in a number of my videos. If you decide to stay in a very expensive area, like in the south, close to London, you are going to be paying a lot in rent. And that's one thing that most people do not really understand, is that the rent is not the same across the UK. So different people pay different prices. We are lucky where we are in the northeast. We don't pay as much as people who are in the south pay. So that's another thing that you have to consider when you're coming to the UK. But that's for another video. So rent will first slash your income into half, and then you have to fix your other bills into the rest of the half. And by the end of the month, you're gonna be feeling wonderful, but you're gonna be all right. Okay? So you're going to pay rent, council tax, water bills, electricity, gas. You're going to pay for your taxes, insurance, car insurance. That's if you have a car. Bills are just going to be waiting for you. If you have children and you want to be able to work for an extended period of time, you also have to think of things like childcare. Even if to watch TV, you're going to pay TV license. That's if you want to be watching the local TV, but there are other ways around it if you do not want to be watching live stream TV. Okay, that will probably be for another video. I don't want to make this video too long, but I'm just going to say that bills are gonna, it will choke. Hello, bills are gonna choke. That, yeah, the bills are a lot. I don't say this to scare anybody, but it's the reality. Okay. All right. So another thing that you will quickly realize is that you have to be a planner. Now, for the way the UK is structured and the way things work in synergy, almost like a system, a very functional system, you have to be a planner. If you're depending on the public transport, you have to plan your movement according to the bus schedules. If you are going to go to work with a friend, you have to work according to their schedule. If you're going to take your children to school, the children have to be in school at a certain time. They cannot be late, and then you now be begging the principal at the school gates. No. What happens here is that you have to drop your children off at school at a certain time and pick them up from school at a certain time. You cannot be late. You cannot be too early. The gate will open before time. The gate will close right on time. So you have to be a planner. That's one thing that you will quickly realize, that there's a system to the way things are run. Like, you have to just fall in line, or you're going to get left out, and things are just going to suffer. This also talks about your budgeting as well. So if you are going to be depending on your salary or have side hustles, you have to plan how you're going to spend this money, how you're going to save. If you plan to send money back home, you have to plan. So in order not to tell stories that touch at the end of the month, or be scraping the bottom of the pot at the end of the month, you have to be a planner. You have to plan things and structure things. And that will just help you, flow better with the system and just live comfortably. Next point. People are always saying that the UK weather is so cold, it's so this, it's so that. Yeah. But then there are other seasons in the year, and nothing will actually prepare you for the weather. Even though you have heard about it, oh, it's really cold, it's really this, but nothing will really prepare you for the weather, because even for someone like myself who's coming from South Africa, I'm not coming from a very warm weather that like we have in Nigeria. I'm coming from somewhere that also experiences cold. But still, nothing prepared me for the UK weather, and it was kind of a shock to me because I thought that, you know, I would be able to flow better with the weather. But no, nothing prepares you for how cold, damp, and wet things will be. And even during the summer months, like the weather is still bipolar, like you cannot predict the weather. Even though you have the weather forecast and everything, it's still a mess. Like things can just be sunny this minute and then the next minute it's cold, windy, and wet. No, I don't really like the weather. Next point, and this is a kind of point. The next point is that everybody is busy. All right, so coming into the UK and I already knew people here. I'm like, oh, I'll make time to come and see this person. We'll hang out. We'll do this. We'll do that. Hello, nobody got time for you. Everybody's chasing money. Yeah, like everybody's really, really busy. Like everybody's on the go. Before you can find someone who's willing to want to hang out and you are available at the same time, it's very rare, really. It's not something that you will readily find. Yeah, so it's kind of rare. Everybody is busy. Everybody's busy, especially the immigrants, like those who are coming into the UK. I've noticed that most of the indigents really make time, like they go on their holidays, they use their time, maybe stay at home with family, walk their dogs, you know. So that's why it's just funny to me because whenever I see people on the gram and people on social media, literally, who are just bragging and showing off and, you know, showing exploits on the gram, trying to tension some people. Nobody really sees all this in. Like everybody's busy, everybody's out chasing paper. Another shocking point that you will realize is that as you come into the UK and you move from one part of the UK to the other part of the UK, you will quickly realize that they have their own dialects. Everybody has their own dialects. Every part of the UK has their own tonation and they sound differently. In fact, sometimes you might begin to doubt that you are still in the UK when you hear some accents. For instance, I stay in Darlington, and when I move from Darlington and I go to like Newcastle, the accent is different. People who stay in London don't sound the same way. If you're coming to the UK and you think that the way you are hearing quiz English is the same way that they'll be speaking it in the UK, across the UK, you are going to be shocked. You are going to be disappointed because nobody really talks like that across the UK. Like you get different accents across the UK. There's the Geordie accents, there's the Darlow accents. There are different kinds of accents. Like, and you know, people who grow up in Scotland, they sound differently to people who grow up in Welsh and, you know, all these other places. So it's different across the UK. So you cannot expect to come into the UK and hear the accent. So people come into the UK and they struggle to hear and understand accents. And it's perfectly understandable because it happens to almost everybody, especially if you do not stay around the London axis. So if you want to be able to flow very well, you have to calm down and use your inner ear. So if you want to understand what the people are saying, you might have to mix with the locals and, you know, just take your time to hear this accent. It might take you some time to pick up on the accent, but you eventually will. It's not really that difficult, but you just need time. The last thing I want to talk about is the fact that flu, as in kata, cold in this country is a real sickness. Most people who are coming into the UK don't realize that flu is like malaria from Nigeria. Like it's a real sickness. Like your body feels it like malaria. It feels like you're having malaria. Like that's the feeling when you have flu here. So there are things that you can use whenever the weather is about to change like that. You can get the flu vaccine. You can also stock up on your vitamins, eat a lot of fruits, drink water, vegetables, things like that. Yes, you need it to be able to stay strong and to just boost your immunity against all of these things. So yeah, most people don't know this, but I'm just mentioning it is the last point for today. All right, so we've come to the end of today's video. Thank you so much for watching up until this point. If you have watched up until this point and you have not yet subscribed, remember, the Lord is watching you. Leave your comment in the comment section and I will see you in my next video.